testing terminology.
Correct.
So if you don't have enough, if you don't have a subgroup of children with disabilities or children with low SES status,
Yeah.
they've combined them into what they refer to as a super subgroup.
Correct. What
So that
US
you have
News,
enough.
what US News does is they pull the data from each state and from the College Board, these sources. So if the Rhode Island Department of Education put you on the warning status saying it does not meet that criteria, I don't think there's a chance you will pass
Yeah.
their criteria.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the question that's lingering, I think, is a parking lot question, because we don't have all because you could walk out of here thinking, we have very few disadvantaged students, or however we want to, characterize that, and they're not doing well, right? And we could make some inferences from that, which may or may not be correct. I think that the lingering question is, how many students do we have of this population? Where are those actual gaps?
Yeah.
And I think, but it's a question to be addressed, certainly,
Correct.
as populations change across the state and demographics
Correct.
change.
But you see, the issue, as a parents, we looked at the time is the Barrington and the East Ridge, that percentage of the population is similar for that group. But then the question really is why Barrington is always does good in that group, but we are not doing good.
Why are we failing
They
that
have,
population?
Barrington has a larger group of kids
But they look at
with
the
disabilities.
percentage.
They do, so Barrington has the subgroup.
Correct, but I think that Barrington and East Ridge is close around between 5 and 6%. Barrington is 1.5 times, has 1.5 times more students. The Barrington High School has 1.5 times more students than East Ridge High School. So the percentage-wise, both schools are similar, except that they have 15% more students than we do.
Yeah. But I just want to add too, and Lori, that's a good point that you made. East Greenwich High School or Cole could not have been commended had they not closed the gaps.
Right.
Correct.
So that's an
That
important
is correct, yeah.
distinction to make.
If I might just chime in here a bit, I'm Pat Page. I actually am sitting on the Accountability 3.0 committee at the state, where we are revamping the state report carding system. And I had the opportunity to take a look. We were looking at Classical, we were looking at Barrington, we were looking at some of the urban ring schools. And one of the challenges that we face in East Greenwich is we may have a smaller number of students that are classified as being disadvantaged or needing support, but within that cohort, we have a disproportionate number of students with multiple plans. So we have a smaller population, and I don't want to use the word needy, but I'm lacking a better word at this time. We have multiple levels of support required for that smaller population, whereas Barrington has a broader number of students, but they're not having that same depth or need for support.
But you would
That
think that
makes
would be a
sense.
good thing? Like for us having like multiple ways of trying to address the
They-
students' needs and,
Yeah.
trying to, you'd think that'd be good, but maybe that's me. One of the other differentiators with the US News data, they really focused on college readiness, and their proxy for college readiness, as Mr. Zhang was saying earlier, is AP exams and international baccalaureate exams. And so the only thing that distinguished East Greenwich from like Barrington and Classical was this issue of how many, what percentage of your kids are taking the AP exams, and then how are they scoring on the exams. And so that was something that definitely differentiated East Greenwich from Barrington and Classical. They had a greater percentage of kids who were taking those exams, taking the challenging courses, taking the challenging exams. And, in Barrington's case, they did a bit better, and then Classical is fairly similar to how our kids performed. When you look at the top performing schools in the US News World Report, 100% of their kids are taking AP exams, 100% of their kids are getting 3s or better. And it
I'm sorry,
is
who?
top
performing high school.
the
Yes,
top
right.
ones on the US News World
Right.
Report. So in my work, I've done some work with the BASIS schools, which is a series of charter schools, mainly in Arizona. I think they just opened one up in Washington, D.C. And I visited some of these schools. And, I get the charter issue. I think there's, we could have a whole debate on that as well. But when you visit those schools, the two BASIS schools that are in the top 5 on the US News World Report, they have 48%, 47% students of color. You know, it's Arizona, so it's mostly Hispanic. But nearly half of their student population are students of color. Lots of poverty, and these kids are hitting it out of the park. And so, you know, we could talk through different reasons why that may be. But, you know, when you visit some of these really top performing schools, they are a wonder to behold. They are something to see.
David, can I just ask a quick question? When you look at the AP exams in EG, if 39% of the seniors are taking them, 54% in Barrington, what's the availability of AP exams? I mean, I don't have kids at that level, but is that like Barrington offers more courses of AP to seniors, or is it
Much
equal?
more. Barrington offer, I know one of the kid from the same middle school as my daughter. My daughter came to East Ridge High School, and he went to Barrington High School. By the time he graduated, he finished 14 AP course from Barrington. And so Barrington definitely offer more than 14, but you know, he finished 14, and I think East Ridge maybe offer 8 or 9. You know, 9 maybe including the arts. Yeah.
You know, part of it is an issue when you're a smaller district and a smaller high school. There are sort of staffing limitations, and you know, part of it also is an approach. Again, 2 of the basis schools, you know, that are in the top 5, the average student takes 10 AP exams. It's a lot. I mean, it's a crushing load, but that's the expectation when you're at this school. That, you know, if you're going to come to the school, the expectation is you're going to work, you're going to take those courses, and you will take and succeed on those exams.
David, I don't know if you're planning to show how we compare with, so I see the top performing high schools in the US, but I know, you know, I've looked at Massachusetts as well, and it's a conversation I'm having with classical right now as well, when we look at our, you know, sort of sister school of Boston Latin. The percentage of kids at Boston Latin who take 1 or more AP exams is higher than the percentage at classical, and the percentage of those kids who get a 3 or better is higher than at classical, which is often our top performing school in the state. Schools of similar size, similar district size, and similar demographics and similar levels of affluence, I don't know about the school funding in Massachusetts, have higher percentages of AP offerings, higher percentages of kids taking it. And I most recently came from a charter school network. Who knows how this experiment's going to turn out, but the 9th graders who are there at the high school that I work to create will all take an AP exam. That's a high school graduation requirement. You know, perhaps for our students with the most severe needs, IEPs that dictate it would just be too much of a struggle, we would waive that requirement. But the majority of kids will all take U.S. history as an AP course in 10th grade. That's how you take history.
Right.
Yeah.
And
In 10th grade.
In 10th grade.
Most people take it US.
And in Kentucky, I do a bunch of work with schools in Kentucky. There's a big initiative called Advanced Kentucky, where they decided that, you know, this is one of the areas where we're going to put a stake down because we're trying to boost the state's overall performance. And Advanced Kentucky has been having incredible success, particularly with students of color who traditionally haven't been taking AP exams and AP courses, in part because sometimes the expectations have not been as high. And so now students are being told for the first time, no, we actually think that you should be taking, you know, AP stats, or you should be taking an AP history exam, and our expectation is that you could do it. And there's support that's built in.
I just wanted to add, in terms of context, because we're talking about college, I think sometimes these are positioned in terms of we need to have X number of AP exams so our kids can get to the best colleges. When your children are applying, the Common App is going to ask how many APs are offered at your school and how many are limited. A significant percentage of high schools, particularly some of the best high schools, limit the number of AP tests, private and public, AP classes you can take. You can only take 2 per semester or sometimes 2 per year. And some of that is done to put a lid on the pressures that kids have. Some of it's done because some schools view all of their classes, many of the top high schools don't offer AP because they view everything as being AP level. So more AP, and I'm not against AP at all, but more AP is not better. And if your child, if Joy is applying to a school and she says, oh, I went to East Greenwich High School, they only offered 9 APs, I was able to take 7, that does not penalize her at all, versus if Jeff had gone to a different school where there were 15 APs, he took all 15. So that's okay. So I don't think we should necessarily be saying, you know, our goal should be to pack the number of APs. I think that's fine if we have the demand for it, but that isn't going to get us where we need to be.
Yeah, I think I have a different information here. First is, when I talk to the admission office for the top school, for example, MIT, they pretty much say, if you don't take the AP Calculus BC, yeah, we still will take you, but the percentage of the students did not take the AP Calculus BC come to our school, admit to our school is that much. It's almost none, right? And we're not offering AP Calculus BC. Well, that's a huge disadvantage. Second is, they told me they compared the schools within the same region. In Rhode Island's case, they consider Rhode Island as one region, and also, that's what they do. So what you see is Barrington and Classical offer these AP courses, right? And if you talk to East Greenwich Guidance Counselor, they will tell you, okay, the Ivies, we don't have connections, the Ivies don't like us. But if you look at the Classical and the Barrington, and there's all guarantee they have, every year they have kids go to Princeton, Yale, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, right? But for us is, unless parents do something outside the school, go to Intel, the science competition, you go to some other math competition, you get a national awards, okay, then you have the luck to get into the Ivy schools outside Brown, beside Brown, or you have a Lexi, okay, you can get in, or you play sports. You have to do something complete outside the school. The boy I talk about from Barrington, he didn't do anything. He took 14 AP courses in Barrington. He came out, he was accepted into the AES Brown medical program just like that, right? But how hard for East Greenwich High School graduate to get into the program? Everyone you get into, you look, their parents have to do something for them. Okay, get into some other programs. They're getting them into the summer camp, go to the NASA summer camp. So you can't compare that because we clearly in a huge disadvantage.
So we'll actually, I'll put some data up that sort of may get at that a little bit.
I have a question. I'm Elise Swope. I teach here at Cole, but I taught at the high school. My kids went to the high school. And I hate to say it, I mean, they were there 10 years ago. I was under the impression that kids could be in an AP class, but they did not have to take an AP exam. So my question would be, how many kids do we really have? Because if they don't make the payment, because we're paying for it, I'm under the impression. And I'm under the impression also that some districts may pay for the kids to take the AP. So if we're not paying for it and our kids miss the payment, that's going to bring down our numbers, is the way I'm looking at it. Or am I looking at it the wrong way?
No, you're right, Elise. A lot of people didn't pay. It's a lot of money.
And
You
so,
could
yeah,
also
but the
take
thing
the test
is,
and not
if
take the
only
class.
39% of our parents or the kids want to take the exam, the kids could be in the class. We're not seeing how many kids are in the class. We're
Yeah,
only
but
seeing
we
how many
have
are taking the exam.
But the high school has a data to support that's, we suspect that might happen, but we have the data because we know the number of students take the AP class in high school, right? And then the high school has the data, how many of them take the AP
But that's what I'm
exams.
saying. That
Yeah,
if
but
you're
my
not having
understanding-
100% of our kids taking the exam.
When I talked to my daughter, she told me that only the kids is failing. They know they won't have a chance to take.
It's not just
they are
that.
not taking the AP exams.
My experience, I'm just saying, my experience
Yeah.
15 years ago was if the parents chose not to pay. So to me, that's not really justifying the number of kids in their classes. It's only justifying how many people are willing to pay for the exam. And as Alexis just said, it's expensive.
Yeah, Barrington
So
and
if you have-
Classical
so
are not
can I
paying
propose,
for
just
the-
as your facilitator tonight, guys, I'm gonna propose that we kind of take this feedback and as a point of data that we should find out more about, as we kind of look at this as a committee and as the administrative council looks at it. And then keep going with this, because I want to make sure we have time for a full discussion at the end. All right, thank you.
All right, so kind of getting to Mr. Zhang's point, one of the things I did with the last graduating class, we have lots of data about where they're going, and we don't know how they actually do, so we can't actually say to the extent that they, how successful we've been in preparing for them, but, this is a great proxy when you look at where the kids actually wind up going. And to me, that's sort of the most salient thing, because you could have kids who get accepted to 5 or 6 really, really good schools. So they all kind of make the list. But what I am always sort of captivated by is where kids wind up going. And this is, again, just a snapshot in time. This is one class, and kids have any number of reasons to go to any number of different schools, right? And so, the way that these are organized, that this was the U.S. News World Report college rankings for that particular year. And so obviously that changes as well. And so the schools that are in the top 50, and I'm going to show you the close to the top 50, here's where our kids actually wound up matriculating in this, from this one class. Sorry, that got off a little bit. And again, there's any number of reasons why kids go.
Did you have the data on what majors they chose as well?
No, I don't.
I didn't hear the
Because
question.
that would match up to what
Which
schools they
majors?
go to.
Which
So,
majors
I mean,
the
I'd be
kids-
interested
Oh,
in seeing that.
no, I don't.
And some
I mean, they
will
don't
not
have to
apply to
declare.
FIT, that
They
don't
also
have to
changed the
declare.
major like 3 times before they.
Right, but
they-
no, but
so,
to Mrs. Lucan's point, like for example, I was a journalism major, right?
yes.
None of the top
They all go for
six,
liberal
none of the
arts
top
and
6 schools have an undergraduate journalism major.
Yeah.
I didn't. The only one I applied to was Columbia because Columbia has a graduate program in journalism.
Correct. I think that.
I wasn't interested in those schools because they didn't have what I was looking for.
But if you look, the top one, for example, say the one accept into the Princeton and the Stanford, that's the same student.
No,
I think so.
no.
Yes, it is the same student.
It is the same student.
Right, the same student who was accepted by both, but you
Right.
can't, but that's how the data would work out in a class of highly selected.
Correct, correct. And that's the first issue. Second issue I see is, I know the 2 students who take the 3 spots, one from Princeton, one from Harvard, one from Stanford, they are not relying on their high school transcript to help them get into a college. They really on something completely different. One on sport, one the Miss Teen, Rhode Island, plus the NASA summer camp, all these extra, all other stuff which parents has to spend a lot of time and energy into. So, but I think that from parents' point of view is, you know, how can we reach the point is same as like a Barrington and a Classical. We send the kids there, we have a peace of mind, and the school can help them, our school can help them to get into the top colleges. Versus we have a full-time job, then we come home, have another full-time job to help them.
But I think that's part of the whole
Yes.
rationale for, you know, what is it that we want from our schools?
And I would like to know all the students that are not represented here at
Right.
all, because we've only been talking about a select group that are going on to Ivy League schools, and as a parent, I also have a second full-time job getting my kids who represent the other 50%.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked or seen one drop of data that disaggregates them out of anything.
Right.
Yeah, Mr. Osborne, I think that is an important piece of this. We
Telling.
talk about college readiness, it's not just, for some of us, it's not about, you know, what college our kids are gonna go to if they can go to college. And I think that, you know,
And in the aggregate, going the wrong direction.
Can they read? Can they do that?
So most of the kids are going to college, right? It was 3/4, I think, of this class that got into a 4-year college or university. And I think another 8% were community college. And so the vast majority of the kids who were in this class actually went on to
did
college.
something, okay.
But that's still 15 to 20 who didn't. I mean,
Yeah, that's-
I want to be careful that, you know, are we talking about majorities or are we talking about all kids? Okay,
Right.
because I believe all kids matter.
Oh, absolutely.
Nicole, I think right now what we're talking about is how our school system stands up in rankings with the data that we have easily available, so we can see, could we be better in those areas that we're talking about? Could we have more kids who are able, ready, and willing to take AP courses, pass AP courses? Could we get more kids applying to competitive colleges and being accepted? Because those are the data that we have. But I don't think for a second, it doesn't get to me at all of the other things that I want happening in a school. I mean, everybody here knows I want standards-based grading. I want my kid to have multiple opportunities to demonstrate proficiency. That's what I care about. I care about it so that he might be ready to take an AP course, but I care about it for his learning. But I think these are the rankings that we have right now. So I hope it doesn't feel like people are trying to be exclusionary. I think it's more like, let's use the data that we have right now, see how we stack up, and then dig into the other pieces that we can disaggregate.
And I just want to add to that one of the purposes of tonight is to talk about what academic measures would be meaningful for this community. So this is really just data to serve to help inform that conversation about what's there and what's not there. So I would encourage you to continue on and so we can get to that conversation, because I think we want to have, that's definitely what we want to talk about tonight.
Right, and the whole issue of college readiness and career readiness, they're terms that everybody throws around, but very few people have defined very concretely. If we get to the point in the conversation where people want to, I would be happy to talk about the initiative that I'm doing, which is really focused on that. And we have a very strict definition of what college readiness is, and it's readiness to succeed at a community college level, because the majority of students who leave high school in the United States wind up going to community college. And we're doing a lousy job of even getting kids out of high school with high school diplomas ready to succeed at a community college level. At CCRI, 2/3 of the kids who enter CCRI have to take remedial courses, which means that they're basically paying to retake high school. That's crime, but it's a reality in this state. I think it's less of a reality probably for kids coming out of this school district, but I can't say that for sure because I don't actually have the data, because we don't track the kids once they leave. So we don't know exactly how the kids, once they leave East Greenwich High School, how they're doing. But it's something we ought to think about, because we're no different from the rest of the country. And again, I've seen the data for CCRI, which is very similar to data that I've seen for the community college systems around the country. Right? We're really struggling. We're getting really, really good about giving out high school diplomas. It is not necessarily clear that high school diplomas in the United States mean what they think they mean, which is being ready for the next step.
I was going to ask if you have a 10-year trend that we could see somewhere in the data, because 54, am I reading it right, 54% are enrolling into college?
4-year or 2-year. It was the profile is something like 80s.
Right, it was
okay.
over 80% of
Yeah.
the kids were
Okay.
in either 4-year or 2-year institutions, and I think it was close to like 85 to 90%. It was
I
high.
think 4-year is something like 70 or 72. I have the
I want to say
profile.
74
I have the
for
profile
4-year.
here. I could look it up.
But again, this is just a snapshot look at one class, and I mean, we would have to go back to the high school and see
I
how
can
that
tell you the year
compares.
before, class of 2013, 74% went on to a 4-year institution, which I found low in this community.
Yeah.
But,
Feels low.
but that's, it went up a little bit.
But
this
then,
year.
but again, you
used to
throw
be
another
90s.
8 or 10% going into the community college
Right.
system. Now
And
you're up,
it's 2 or 4
into
years.
the mid-80s. So.
Yep.
So we went from a 10-year 84% to a 4-year 74%?
No, I'm saying if you add in the kids who went to 4-year colleges or universities with the kids who went to community college or a 2-year program, that percentage combined was roughly like mid-80s for this one
That year.
class.
Someone
yeah.
said something about 10-year trend. and somebody
And
said-
she was asking whether we have data for that, and that is just something we'd have to go back to the high school and see how we're doing.
Can we pause 1 second? Let me switch.